Hi, everyone, and welcome to Design Your Life, where we talk with everyday people about living intentionally to create a life that they want and deserve. I'm your host, Jim Mantler, and I'm excited to welcome today our guest, Rob DiPiero of Exit Realty. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And for all the listeners out there, Rob is a real estate agent serving St. John, New Brunswick. He's a husband, devoted husband, and a dad of two amazing girls. And Rob, can you tell us a little bit about yourself just before we kind of kick off here?
Yeah, I've lived in St. John since 2008. Kind of moved around and kicked around my childhood and my adult life. I'm a product of a military family, but landed here in 2008, and grateful to be here in St. John. It's absolutely the best place I've ever lived. But father of two beautiful girls, a 15-year-old and a 2-year-old. So like one here and like one over here. And a beautiful wife, and I do everything for them. And I'm a real estate agent here in St. John, New Brunswick since 2016, and I've been very fortunate and very grateful to have been blessed with a little success, I guess you could say, but just being around some amazing people as well. Yep.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. I'm very happy to have you on the show. I love watching your videos. I love your authenticity, just your energy. So yeah, super excited to have you today, and hopefully just share your story with all those watching. And obviously the purpose of the Design Your Life podcast is really just discussing how people design their lives intentionally to really live a much more fulfilled, happy life. More or less from an internal perspective versus, chasing happiness externally. I mean, obviously that matters as well. But I do believe it comes from within first. And with that said, like, what does designing your life mean to you personally?
Well, I've been very fortunate to be around some amazing people. And when we talk about designing our life, and I just love the topic of the podcast because a lot of the people that I'm around think this way about designing your life. And when I think about it personally, I think back to a corporate presentation that I went to where they were talking just about this, about designing your life. And it's either you live your life by default or you live your life by design. And if you live your life by default, then you get default results. If you live your life by design, then you get the results by design. So that's something that's always really stuck with me, is you really are choosing if you're going to design your life or if you're just going to let life happen to you.
Right. And, obviously when life happens, it's usually caused of those kind of outside forces that get in the way and get loud. How do you maintain control, when the outside forces get too loud?
Well, I'm not perfect, but I've gotten better at it as I've matured and gotten older. And things used to really affect me when outside things would happen. But I think it's just a maturity now where I realize that there's not a lot besides really health and the health of my family that can really affect my life. And I am very blessed again to have those things. But I think it's just maturing and realizing that a lot of those things aren't big things. They're not really big defining things unless you make them. And if they are things that are impacting your life, then it's probably because I let them control my life right from the beginning. So that comes with maturity and making mistakes and realizing things, and maybe not always realizing it in the time as well. But I think anytime that I've felt that way, that something's really had control over me, I kind of come to the conclusion eventually that it's because I let it have control over me.
Yeah, no, it's a good point, right? Because we do have the ability to hang on to something or to let it go, right? And oftentimes, a lot of people tend to hang on to it a little too long. Or I mean, well, I don't believe there's a too long or too short, but obviously realizing that you're hanging on to it, the sooner you realize that, the better, and the more you can or the earlier you can let it go to move on, obviously. Do you feel you've always had a say in your life's direction?
There's been times when I would have thought that I didn't, but again, now just having some, and I think it comes with self-awareness as well.
Mhm.
As I've gotten older, I've gotten more awareness and more self-awareness. So I think now I would say yes, but there would be times in my life certainly where I would have felt like I was being controlled by other people, or maybe didn't have as much control as I thought that I did, or were feeling the effects of other things. Which, I mean, let's be honest, we all feel that.
Right.
But now looking back, I think, and this is one of the hardest things about life, is when you come to the realization that you are exactly where you want to be. Because if you didn't want to be there, then you would change things, and you would do other things. Like, I don't know, have you ever read the book, The Master Key System?
I have not read that one. No.
Okay, so I've read it about 20 years ago, and I've listened to podcasts recently, but it's all about this, taking taking accountability for where you are. But the master key system is essentially deciding what you want to do, and then acting it into existence.
Right.
So
Right.
the whole thought process is have, do, be, right? So in order to have something, you need to do things. In order to do things, you need to be something. So
Right.
become the
Right.
thing that you want to do. But I don't know if that really answered your question.
Well, it does. I mean, we can think of it a little differently because I guess the way I relate to that is I think of it as, you do what you prioritize. Like everybody wants something, everybody wants to do something. We
Mhm,
all have a dream,
mhm,
but we don't prioritize it, which in the same sense is we don't take action to
mhm,
achieve it. So wherever we are, we're where we are because of either the action or the non-action we took. In my mind, I think of that as, we give energy to what we prioritize,
mhm,
right? And if you're not prioritizing what you need to do to get to where you want to be, then you're not giving the energy to that, and you're choosing to take non-action, or a non-choice is a choice, right?
mhm,
And it has the same consequence as a choice. And a lot of times, I mean, let's take making a choice out of risk or for fear. We choose not to make a choice out of fear, whether it's fear of getting that promotion or fear of getting that lady we love or the gentleman we love or whatever the case, right? But not making that choice out of fear for not attaining it is still making a choice to not get it,
That it's
right?
a hard thing, hard pill to swallow.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very, very true. And I don't know, and not to kind of just sideswipe your question, but kind of what I've come to the realization uh, about all of this as well is the identity that you have of yourself is so
Mhm.
important in that, because it's really easy to just say, well, if you want this, do this. But when you go back to the master key system again, it's in order to have something, you need to do something. In order to do something, you need to be something. And that really is about your identity. So if you identify as someone who doesn't do things,
Mhm.
or doesn't have things, then you'll never consistently take the action to do it, and then you will never
Right. Right.
have it. Um,
Yeah.
so it's this whole idea of, like, if you've been told your whole life that you're an apple, and you've been raised as an apple, and then all of a
Uh-huh.
sudden in one day you decide that you want to be an orange. Well, you still have all of this programming of being an
Right.
apple, and your motivation can only take you so far. You
Yeah.
really need to change your identity. So that's kind of the stuff that I've been into recently with this and taking these next
Right.
steps.
Right.
But I don't know
Well,
if that makes
yeah.
sense.
No, no, it makes total sense. I mean, soon I will be having an episode on ego because, a lot of what we do is so ego driven, and that, I mean, just replace the word apple with ego. And your ego is developed through, how you're raised, your environment, beliefs you have about yourself
Input.
growing up, right? And so, yeah, no, I identify with that quite a bit. In your responses, kind of you and I going back and forth in communication, you mentioned that health has given you the ability to choose. What do you mean by that, or how do you not identify as the apple anymore? Because I'm assuming they're somewhat connected. Like
Mhm.
when you say health has
Mhm.
given you that ability.
But I think I just realized that there are people that may be listening to this that do have serious problems, life problems. And
Mhm.
for me, I'm lucky to be healthy in my 40s and not have had any major health concerns. So, the way that you physically feel impacts
Hmm.
everything about you. And I do understand that. So I think
Right.
that's kind of what I was saying is I'm fortunate enough to not be bound by some of these big things that happen to people and where I do actually have the
Gotcha.
ability to choose. So
Right.
I
Right.
think it's just an acknowledgement to that.
Yep.
Um, but in terms of, changing from an apple to an orange, again, I've been very, very blessed to be around some incredible people. And one of the things that I learned about 7 or 8 years ago is that your belief system is not something that you just have. You either have or you don't have. Sometimes people think you're confident or you're not confident and you're born that way. Your belief system is actually something that is built, and you can choose to build it through input. And input, what comes in always needs to come out. What's impressed always needs to be expressed. So whatever's inside of you, it always needs to come out. So if you're, not quite getting the results that you want coming out, then the answer is always, what are you putting in? So
Right. I love that. Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely.
about
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. Yeah.
yeah, I was
No.
going to say about 5 years ago, maybe a little bit before, 6 years ago, I made probably the most important decision in my life, which was the decision to say kind words to myself. And I actually wrote down,
Hmm.
affirmations. I am successful. I am strong. I am smart. I am organized every single day for years and years and years and years. And it kind of built this belief system that I have today. And I'm still working on that.
Yeah. No, listen, and so before I get in the next question, let's veer off here a little bit because I love that in terms of doing affirmations. One that has done affirmations myself, but I've also struggled with affirmations, probably for the same reason I'm sure most as well have, and that
Mm-hmm.
is not seeing the results quick enough, so we just fall out of the belief that it's working. Now, you said years,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yes.
just for those people listening, like I'm sure, or I'm of the belief now that the time in which it takes for people to really, believe that really comes down to how much maybe somebody has struggled through life or just what that pre-programming is. But yeah, like, so share that, like, how many years are we talking that you felt from when you started or made that mental shift to do affirmations to change your your mindset to getting to a place that you feel you're confident in who you are now.
Mm-hmm.
What time are we talking?
I'm just blessed to know the people that I know, because the company that I'm with has all been built off of the affirmation principles. So my mentor, and even the founder of Exit Realty, really wants to be known for the affirmation principle. So I was really introduced to that when I got into real estate. So I've been doing
Right.
affirmations since 2016. And it's funny, Jim, because my wife and I were cleaning out our storage locker
Hmm.
about a month ago. And I found books and books and books and books of affirmations that I had filled out. I am smart. I am kind. I am poised, powerful, presenter, all of these
Right.
affirmations.
I love
And
that.
there are books and books and books and books, because I used to keep them. And
Yeah.
they were from like 2016, 2017.
Wow.
So it was kind of, this nice little moment when we found them. And I was going through these old pages thinking, geez, I remember writing them down and thinking, I'm not organized. But now a lot of people that know me professionally, not my wife, would never think this, would say that I'm one of the most organized people that they've ever met.
Right. Right.
Right.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but years and years and years.
Yeah.
And if you understand the affirmation principle, what you really are supposed to start off with is what you want. So you're supposed
Hmm.
to ask yourself, what do I want? And then you assume the position. So whatever it is you want, you start saying, I am that. And
Right.
basically what happens is, if you can imagine, you know, you always have doubt, whatever that is. And imagine doubt was this big, huge capital D. And the more you write the affirmations, that D gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller and
Right.
smaller, until one day it turns into a belief. But it
Yeah.
doesn't turn into a large belief. It's a very small belief. It's a very small B. right? And as you program yourself, it becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and then all of a sudden you have this giant belief.
Yeah, and the key here is not to is not to put a time limit on it. There is no time limit. You just do it till you believe it.
Mhm.
Whether that be a year, 2 years, 10 years, right? Um, was there a specific moment or experience that really pushed you to redesign your life?
There's been a lot. Again, I'm not perfect at it. Um, the ones that kind of stick out to me are I remember being, a single father, just newly separated,
Mhm.
and kind of down in the dumps. And my daughter was 2 at the time, and I was tucking her into bed, and I'd been down, and like she could just feel it, like the energy, even though
Sure.
she was 2 years old. And I tucked her in, and I just remember giving her a hug before I tucked her in, and it, it was just from the outside, you would think it was just a normal hug, but I don't know, it was
Mhm.
just an energy thing to me. And I could just, I don't know, I could just feel a change. But I remember just going in the bathroom after I put her into bed and looking in the mirror and just realizing that yeah, it was all up to me, and happy people make happy decisions. I remember thinking that over and over and over. Happy people make happy decisions. And if you want something, then it really is up to you. And if people help along the way, you should definitely be grateful. But you can have all the people in your life wanting to help you, but if you don't help yourself, then it doesn't really
Right.
matter. But that's one that sticks out for me. And just in business, I remember coming into real estate thinking I was gonna light the world on fire, as so many realtors do, and finding out different. But having some really great mentors, and probably my third year in this business, having very successful realtors spend 2 days with me talking about goals, and we wrote down our goals and plans and accountability, and we were accountable to each other. And this is somebody who had achieved amazing things. And I would say that those two kind of stand out to me.
Right. And let's so there's two things that I kind of want to lean into here. One is obviously I've been through a separation,
Hmm.
a divorce. My children were younger, so it really resonates with me.
Hmm.
Because I remember, geez, the weekend, when I had my children to myself, all
Hmm.
alone,
Hmm.
just that aloneness, that feeling of itself, like you just never forget it.
Yeah.
Right. And I can definitely sympathize with others that struggle to kind of gain back control of life, being in that situation, in that position, because I've been there. And it probably took me longer than I would like to admit
Hmm.
to get back to where I needed to be. Right. But what steps did you take to take that control back, I guess? Is there any steps that you took that may help somebody else out there that, is either going through the same thing right now or still trying to break through?
Well, I think at the time of this whole journey of being very deliberate,
Mhm.
um, it would have been a very new time for me. So I think it was just starting off by making the decisions on what it was that I wanted. And
Right.
and I like Jim, like I can remember sitting on my couch all alone, night after night after night after night, just
Hmm.
thinking about what is it that I want? What do I
Right.
want? And you know, I know for a lot of people, like they avoid that, or at least that's what I hear. They avoid
Yep.
kind of those tough conversations. But I think that was probably the first step for me, was just really sitting and being with myself and being quiet,
Right.
and in my head having hard conversations with myself and hard realizations with myself, and but really coming out of it thinking, what is it that I want?
Yeah. And think back, that's years ago. I mean, you think today now with all the noise out there, because I
Hmm.
do think that's the challenge is anybody sitting with themselves. I've
Hmm.
discussed that on past podcasts.
Hmm.
I don't think you can find the answer until you give yourself that time of stillness.
Hmm.
But we make ourselves busy, right? So we avoid, the hard question,
Easy. It's
right?
easy.
But yeah, no, you definitely do have to sit in stillness. And I like, because I also think for those out there that are struggling, or maybe they don't have the support system
Mhm.
that some of us have had or
Mhm.
others have. So I do think it's important to, put yourself in a position where you can find those mentors.
Mhm.
Obviously, you put yourself in that position through the industry that you've gotten into, or maybe they fell into you. But I guess I just want to share that with the people listening out there that listen. Obviously, we're not all fortunate to have a strong support system. I know I did not have a strong support system from a family dynamics,
Mhm.
but I do remember, you know, coming to the belief that, okay, if I continue with the people that I'm with,
Mhm.
life is not going to go in a
Mhm.
good direction.
For sure.
And I not align myself. I met an individual, my best friend, Rob, Noel. And once you change the dynamic of who you're with, it can change your life. And then you run into those
Mhm.
mentors or those people that can have a positive impact. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And and
Um,
and and don't be afraid to ask either,
mm,
right? Like
right.
if you're in a room full of people who have what you want, don't just try and be cool and act like you already have it. Like
Yep. Yep.
go and talk to them and ask them what they want, because most people really do want to help, and they'd be honored if you ask to help. And I would say just ask people.
Right. Right. Yeah. Now, in past discussion, you'd mentioned, a question that you asked yourself, what if it is my fault?
Hmm.
Right. So how had that question to
Hmm.
yourself helped you?
Hmm. Well, when that happened, was the story behind that question was I was in real estate, and again thinking I was going to light the world on fire, which I was hit with a ton of bricks. That wasn't going to happen, and thought that everything was just going to happen for me with no work. Was I was um, basically being evicted from this business, and not selling anything and not having any clients and not doing any work and not really doing anything. And at that time I was blaming a lot of people and blaming the brokerage that I was with, and blaming the people who were trying to help me, and blaming all of these people, and blaming my spouse, and basically blaming everyone else that they weren't helping me.
Mhm.
And I remember sitting in my car at Mispec Beach, and I was crying, and just blaming everybody. And then I just had this thought of, well, what if it's not their fault? What if it's just my fault? And I remember just sitting there and asking that over and over and over again. What if it's my fault? What if it's my fault? What if it's my fault? And actually, when that happened, I went from a feeling of grief and stress and everything to
Mhm.
kind of just a sense of relief, to be honest with you. And I felt relieved, because I think that was the moment that I realized, again, for probably the multiple 10th time in my life, that, oh, it really is my fault, and it really is up to me. And like I said earlier in the podcast, people can help you, but if you don't help yourself, then
Yeah.
you can
No, I
only go
love
so
that. Yeah.
far. So I think, and I'm getting big into this and bigger into this, is accountability,
Mhm.
and having self accountability, but uh, positioning yourself around people that hold you accountable is so important these days. Because if you want to be proved that you're right about everything, you can do that. Like there's a video saying that you're right. There's internet, Google saying that you're right. You can be told that you're right all the time, but I don't know. I think it was just some sort of luck that I came across that and realized that, you know, in order to have certain things, you have to be accountable. And sometimes that's looking yourself in the mirror and saying, what if you're the problem?
Yeah. And I mean, obviously I believe is intuition. Again, it's something that you found sitting in stillness
Hmm.
on your own.
Hmm.
But I love how you asked the question, because here's my belief is that, a lot of times we search for answers. We have we just have something that we want to find an answer to. We ask ourselves, man, what is the answer? What is the answer? Right. And realistically, our brain doesn't know what the answer is. It's funny how we go and turn, try to ask our own selves, a question or an answer that we really have no idea that we can know. Like, for example, if, you're propose and, you're asking yourself, oh, is this the right decision? Your brain doesn't know if it's the right decision, right? Or, gee, should I take this job? Is this the right decision? So I love how you just changed the question, right? But sometimes we have to do that. It's not about the answer necessarily as, okay, what is the question I should be asking myself here, right? And it's asking that right question. Would you ask yourself, what if this is my fault? So instead of searching for the answer as to, man, why am I not succeeding? You change it from an answer perspective to well, wait a minute. What if it's my fault, right?
Yep.
So I love that because sometimes if you're not getting somewheres, we have to stop searching for an answer and just decide on a new question. So yeah.
I've learned in life that the quality of your life depends on the quality of questions that you ask.
Right. Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that is another hard truth that I've discovered. But I've learned to ask some of these questions, and I've taken them from other people, and other people have told me the questions that they ask, and it's one of the questions that I do ask other people is, what questions do you ask? But what would need to be true in order for this to happen is a question I ask all the time. What would need to be true? Who would I need to become in order for this to happen? How can I appreciate God's grace and guidance even more in this moment? How can I appreciate this when things are going good? How can I appreciate this when things are going bad? How can I appreciate grace and guidance? So,
Right.
yeah.
Can you share a time, when you may have felt misaligned, or that things were kind of out of your control?
Yeah. It's happened a lot. Definitely happened a lot. Recently I was just on a career path that I felt like I didn't have control over with some of the stuff that I was doing. And, even though I really wanted certain things, I think that, just kind of coming to the realization that it might not be the right time or it wasn't going to happen. And that, just because you walk in a room doesn't mean that you need to stay there. So
Right.
kind of just switching back into sales was a time that I kind of just felt that, there's these bigger forces at play that just because I wanted something, I wasn't going to get it.
Right.
Yeah. I don't really know if I said that right, but I was just trying to think of something.
Well, no, I mean, we can go through life thinking we need a plan, or maybe we have a perfect plan, and we try to live by, and we stay very rigid to it, right? But what I've learned is that life is not rigid. Life is malleable. Life is forever changing. And you can have the best plan in the world, but you have to be open, or you have to be able to at least be accepting of pivoting, and not be, if whether you stop believing in it, or whether you something changes in life that just makes it no longer a viable option. You have to be able to accept that plan may no longer be for you, right?
For
That's
sure.
essentially that's how I take it. That's that's kind of, I've probably the worst one to speak. I've my life has changed. It's been a
Yeah.
roller coaster. It's I've definitely pivoted more times than once.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with that because I think in doing that, you're able to really slow yourself down and really understand that, okay, yeah, it doesn't necessarily, and again, I don't want to say the past has no value. It has great value in terms of learning. And I don't want to say that the future has no meaning. It's just important to kind of understand, where you want, or where you want to go. But in understanding that, it's helped me to just live in today and be okay with, no matter what the plan does,
Yep.
I'm okay today.
Yep.
As long as I know that I'm doing what I love, and that I'm surrounded by people I love, and I put myself in those positions, I can find great gratitude and just being happy with that, right?
It's very wise. Love to hear that. Yeah.
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 What helped push you through those times of doubt or difficulty?
Well, I have a great support system. I do know, like, talking about health, I know that, just talking about how fortunate I am to have that. But I know one of the other things that I'm very fortunate to have is um, a support system at home, and,
Mhm.
a wife who supports me, and kids who support me, and, um, family that supports me. And I know that it's not lost on me that I get to go home every single day to hugs and kisses, and how special that is. And I know that not everybody has that. Um, but I get to end, I start every day with hugs and kisses, and I go to bed every day with hugs and kisses. And, I can remember, like I said, I have a 2-year-old now, and just giving her bottle before going to bed, and sitting in her room quiet away from everybody, and just giving her a bottle, and just, you kind of just realize that there are
Mhm.
other important things that are bigger, right?
Right.
And so I think those things have helped me. And I think I'm just, for better or worse, not a quitter. Sometimes that's been a really painful thing for me in my life, but um, I have this inner strength, I guess you can call it, of just moving on and continuing to go, even when I don't feel like it. So,
Right. Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember you just brought back a vivid memory. I'll never forget just that sitting in a rocking chair at 2 in the morning, holding my
Yep.
daughter, feeding her. It's just there's
Nothing
nothing
better.
like it. Yeah,
Nothing
absolutely.
better.
What I mean, yeah, you probably already touched on it, but what brings you, that joy now, today, genuinely and consistently?
Um, Well, definitely my kids, for sure. Definitely my kids, and
Hmm.
watching them grow up and become strong young women, and beautiful. And my oldest daughter is an achiever, and very passionate, and smart, and everything. And so watching my kids, and my wife, for sure. And then for me, I think um, there's something satisfying about just taking control of your life and knowing that you're doing everything. So it's kind of like you're the only one, and I'm the only one that knows, like, if I did everything that I could that day to feel
Hmm.
good, even if I haven't gotten the result yet.
Right.
So I'm kind of on this path of, consistently doing the things that I know that I need to do, um, and having satisfaction from doing that, even though I'm not where I want to be yet, and I'm still on the journey. But um, knowing that I'm figuring out as I go along, and I'm on this path of getting things done.
Right. Yeah. No. And I followed you for some time, and I know some people that are under your mentorship. And I know you take great pride in other people's success, and having a hand in that. And do you feel there's a connection between like feeling you have a meaning or a meaningful purpose, like to help others succeed, and how that translates to your success within the realty industry?
For sure. Um, I'm a really big believer of, you have to put everything back in that you've taken out. And for 5 years there, I gave as much back as I possibly humanly could. I gave until I was completely empty, and I'm really proud of that. And I still do that. I still mentor other real estate agents, and some other business people,
Hmm.
and meet regularly. And to me, it's just, you give back what you've taken out. And I've been very, very fortunate to have had some great mentors, and some amazing people guide me, some top performers guide me, and it feels good to give that back. But similar to kids, which it's not the same, but it kind of is the same, to watch people succeed and know that you at least had some influence on that, or you help them, is a very, very satisfying feeling. And watching people, like, some of these people are doing things now that I could never even imagine doing. I'm just at awe of what they're doing. I
Right.
look
Right.
at it, and I'm like, I could never do that. But to just know that you're a part of it in some way is satisfying, and it just feels like the right thing to do.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know if that makes sense, but That's the way I feel about it.
No, it does. I mean, when I started my own journey, we'll call it a spiritual one, because I am on
Mm-hmm.
this path.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember doing one of my podcasts was about whether or not we need a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
because I was really struggling with living in today, right? Because I mean, I grew up always wanting to achieve just great
Mm-hmm.
success, and I attached my purpose to that,
Mm-hmm.
which I now realize was wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I started asking myself the question, do I even need one? Are we just put on this planet, this Earth, this big rock that just sits in the middle of space?
Mm-hmm.
We're really just here to enjoy life and what brings us joy. But in doing that episode and following episodes and having feedback in terms of people just sharing with me how just simple things that I would not even have thought of had touched their lives.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that just seems so mind blowing that I would have even a remote impact on anybody. But I come to the realization that, when you do what you love purposely, you are affecting other people. And there's great joy, I guess, in doing that. There's great joys in doing this podcast, sharing your story, because I'm sure it's going to resonate with somebody. So I fully now understand that and embrace it more and more as life goes on, right? So
I
the
love
more
that.
we can do for others, yeah, definitely helps.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 um it helps us express ourselves more authentically as well, and it kind of leads into the one of the final questions here is how do you express yourself, whether it be creatively, emotionally, spiritually now?
Well, if you know me, you know that I'm very opinionated, and often I try to stop myself from taking over conversations and being too opinionated. But I think right now, I'm really trying to figure out expressing it through social media,
Hmm.
and some of the stuff that I'm trying to do, and I'm still learning, and still um, figuring it out. But just putting out value into the world, and sometimes trying to give away my best stuff for free, and
Hmm.
figure out what that is definitely a way that I'm expressing myself and learning storytelling and copywriting and all of these new skills that I didn't have before, and speaking on video and speaking in front of people. I think that's probably the main way
Right,
um,
right.
that I have been doing that. But I think probably the best way that you can do that is with just the way that you are every single day with people, and
Hmm.
who you are, and you know not necessarily the results that you get, but just what you do every single day with people. And I do
Right,
that through real estate, and real estate for me is just a platform to help people. It's just a platform to be around people. The product is real estate, but what I really do is I help people get what they want.
right.
And a lot of people, if you're a real estate agent, you know what I mean. But a lot of people don't realize it's very little to do with the properties and the houses, and more often to do with um, everybody's going through something.
Yep,
Everybody's trying to, especially if you're selling a property. People don't just sell for money. A lot of people think that they do, but they're really
yep.
going through something in their lives.
Right, right.
Could be divorce, could be health, could be relocation, and they have these stressors. And um, so could be they have a baby and they need to get closer to family. Could be anything, and they have these stressors. So that is helping those people is definitely a way that I think that I express myself. And yeah, how about you?
Yeah, so you know definitely, I would have to lean into living authentically,
Mm-hmm.
because I do feel that I've spent the majority of my life behind masks that I've worn and I've created to protect myself.
Mm-hmm.
And again, as I alluded to earlier, I really thought self-worth was really attached to how successful I was from a
Mm-hmm.
financial
For
perspective,
sure.
right? And I spend lot of my years doing that, and it's funny. I was just talking with my girlfriend the other night. Now from a financial perspective, I don't even look at my bills, and I don't mean that in the sense that I'm not playing anything like that, but I mean that in the sense that I totally let go of feeling the need to be somewhere financially, and just trusting that as long as I do what I love,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and as long as I'm passionate about it and I'm not wearing a mask, I'm just who I am authentically.
Mm-hmm.
I just shit will take care of itself.
Yep.
Whether you call it the universe, whether you call it God, whether you call it, the greater being, whatever name you want to attach to it. It's when you try to force yourself to be something you're truly not, and we all struggle with it. We all do it. Um, and it's hard, it's hard not to, right? Because we're just bombarded with, social media. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, first we have our own things that we grew up with
For
and
sure.
we've attached ourselves to, and stuff like that. Right. So I kind of go back to what you said, and it's really just trying to live authentically, and make sure that every day I'm doing something that I enjoy doing, and not necessarily, I no longer need an outcome, or I no longer need a result to do what I'm doing. Right. I'm just going to do it because I enjoy doing it.
It's funny, like that reminds me of like kind of a mindset that I was taught a few years ago, which is process equals joy, joy equals results. And a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
think that the process equals the result, but it's the joy that equals the result. And when you feel
Right.
good about what
Yeah.
you're doing, you attract, right? You attract more,
Right.
and it's more
Yeah.
about feeling good about what you're doing is how you really get the results out of life.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
in going through all that, and having said all that, like, what is something that you've learned, about yourself through going through that process, through kind of designing your life, authentically in the way you want it to be?
Mhm. For me, um, when I think about when I'm stressed or when I think about when I'm unhappy or have some of those negative feelings, it's usually because I don't have a goal. And one of the things that I've realized, and I know that everybody's different, but
Hmm.
for me, I need to have something to aim for. I need to have something to aim for. I need to have a goal, and I'm really big into goal setting. And we're coming into November here now, and I'm setting my goals for next year. I need to have
Hmm.
something to shoot for. And it's not to say that my happiness is dependent on achieving those, but the journey of going through it is something that I just naturally crave. I
Right.
I
Right.
I need that feeling of going for something um to feel good. So that's something that I've learned about myself, and it's even kind of hard to say on something like this or say publicly because I know
Yep.
it can sound bad, but it's just the way that I'm built. It's just the way that I'm built. So I've come to realize that. So writing down goals and going for things that I want. And I have right now on my phone an app that tracks my goals, and I look at it every day, and it helps center me and helps remind me what I'm going for. And if I showed it to you right now, like some of them I've crushed already for this year, some of them like there's no way that I'm going to meet them. But for me, it's just the fact that I'm aiming for something. It helps me. Um,
Right.
I think that that's one thing that I learned about myself where, 5, 10 years ago, I would have thought that um, you maybe shouldn't talk that way, or, that's not true. Um, I think I've just realized that about myself. It's just the way that I'm built, the way that
Yeah.
I'm
No.
wired.
Listen. There's nothing wrong with that at all, right? We all have those things that kind of drive us, and some people need to be driven. Like I'll give my examples. I might not be necessarily goal driven, but I'm challenge driven.
Hmm.
If something's not challenging me,
Hmm.
I will probably walk away with it very
Right.
quick.
Right.
Right.
It's what lights you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So So no, we all have that thing that kind of drives us to grow, and in that thing that we have to do. So yeah, yes, 100%. I would relate to that. What's one piece of advice? So again, obviously, this show, we want to, you know, we share stories. We really hope it resonates with the audience, or there's something there that they take away from it. What's one piece of advice or mindset shift, that kind of changed everything for you?
Mhm. For me, I think it would be, and it's kind of been the theme of the conversation, but it's the mindset of accountability.
Mhm.
And you know, uh, I think back to my mindset 5 or 7 years ago, maybe a little bit longer. On you can find everything out there that says that you're right,
Right.
but internally there's days that I wake up that I'm not motivated, or that I'm depressed, or that like I have all these things that other people have, and and I have them too. But the accountability that I've learned on moving forward or doing certain things, and like I said earlier on, like happy people make happy decisions. And I'm not talking about health, like, because I understand
Hmm.
health is
Yep. Yep.
a very real thing. I understand that. But for me, just the mindset of being accountable, and being accountable to myself, and um, taking control, has really helped me.
So we're coming up on time here, but what I do want to maybe share. What's one tip that you can give, or what's one thing that you do to hold yourself accountable,
Hmm.
for someone out there that may be struggling to do that?
Hmm. That's a really good question, and I've thought about that a lot, mainly over the last 2 years.
Hmm.
And the things that I do to keep myself accountable is, a lot. We talked about goals, and we talked about all of these things: goals, plans, accountability. But the thing that I learned about 2 years ago is setting your non-negotiables, which is, what do you do every single day, no matter what. And for me, I have a few of them, which I'd be happy
Hmm.
to share. I look at my goals every single day. I look at them every single day. Some of these are business goals, some of them are health goals, some of them are family goals. What do I want? I focus on what I want. And I have an app on my phone, and I look at them. It's just become a habit now that I look at them
Yep.
all the time, but it is a non negotiable for me, because of what I do. I post on social media every single day, and I've not missed one day on social media in the last 2.5 years. So you can go back, and if you found a day that I didn't do something, that's because there was a problem with the platform. Like, is um, I do affirmations every day. I tell my family that I love them every single day. Um, and I look at my calendar. I try to use my time wisely every single day. But I
I've
think
seen your
that,
calendar.
in order to be who
Yeah.
you want to become, it's not just about setting goals. It's about, who do you need to be to do those goals. And that is what you
Right.
do in non-negotiables, no matter what. If you're sick, if you're tired, if you're traveling that day, what do you do every single day, no matter what, who you become? So that would be my
Yeah.
advice: is, what are your non-negotiables, and set your non-negotiables, and set them up in a way so that you get the life that you want. That if you do them every
Right.
single day, it'd be impossible not to have it.
Yeah, and for anyone that maybe struggles with that, I guess I would lean into a simple thing to start with is just doing that one affirmation a day. If it's
Mm.
just simply one thing with that question in mind, what is it you want of yourself or life? Um, Listen, Rob, if you could give one message to someone who feels stuck or unfulfilled, what would that be?
Message to somebody who feels stuck or alone. Um, I think it would just be that you're not stuck, you're not alone. Talk
Mhm.
to somebody. You always feel better if you talk to somebody. Um, there's people out there that are rooting for you. You'd be surprised how many people are rooting for you. And if you ask for help, you will likely get the help. And, there's the saying, ask and you shall receive, knock on the door shall open. Um, just just keep going forward and ask for help.
And what would your favorite quote or mantra be?
I think one of them that comes to mind is, we have these times in our life where we're doubting everything, and our brain is saying one thing, and our heart is saying one thing. But the quote or mantra would be, when your head and your heart conflict, your heart is always right. And sometimes things just make perfect sense logically, but your heart's not in it. And if you're in that moment, you should always choose what's in your heart. I think it's really important.
I love that, and it really follows pretty much the theme of this whole podcast, right? Because I agree, as we believe our hearts, or I believe our heart is separate from our mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I really believe that mind takes an ego stance, and you just evaluate too much from the past or the present or
Mm-hmm.
the future. Whereas, yeah, your heart is really living for the now. How do you feel, right? So I think that's a great one. I think that's a great one.
Thank you.
Rob, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off here?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me as a guest, and I've really enjoyed the conversation, and even our conversation today has made me think about things, and so I'm really grateful for the conversation and to be on here, and I'll be thinking of our conversation later today, and I think it's really great what you're doing. So thank you for having me here.
Love that. You're very welcome. And for anybody out there that wants to get a hold of Rob, it's Rob DiPiero, which is Rob at exitsj.ca for email purposes. And then again, you can follow Rob on social media at Rob DiPiero. And Rob, I want to thank you for, again, this was a great conversation. I'm sure we'll have you back for another topic. And yeah, thanks everybody out there for listening. I appreciate all the followers, all the listeners, and just remember, you are the architect of your own life. Design your life the way you want it. Thanks.
Love that. Thanks, mate.